Superman is swell. We're probably all familiar with the scene in Superman the movie where Lois asks Clark how he felt about his first day working at the Daily Planet.
Mr. White? Gosh, on the whole, I'd say it's been swell.
Swell?
Yeah.
Clark, there are very few people left in the world who feel comfortable saying that word.
Well, what word?
Swell.
Really? Oh, I thought it was kind of natural.
It was a scene intended to show Lois just how corny and mild-mannered Clark was, because by the late 1970s the word swell was an outdated slang word that equates to cool or great. I did some research on the word and discovered that swell was the happening slang term of the Roaring Twenties. Having lingered lazily in the English language for over a century, it suddenly burst on the scene around 1920 with attitude written all over it. It defined the rebellious youth culture of that era, a culture fueled by women's rights and anti-Victorian passions that had young people dancing exuberantly. And swell had staying power. Like cool, it hung on for decades as the #1 slang term of approval. But in the mid-1960s, swell was changed from the rebellious to the cornball. This was because the 60s, like the 20s, witnessed the rise of a rambunctious youth culture that broke with parental traditions, bringing with it a new all-purpose slang term, cool. While listening to episodes of the 1940 Superman radio series, I discovered an interesting conversation between Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen, in which Jimmy overuses the word swell and Clark Kent admonishes him for it. The episode aired on March 10th, 1941, and was part 3 of the story Last of the Clipper Ships, an adventure which sees Clark and Jimmy aboard a ship that's supposedly haunted by a ghost known as the Whistler. Making sure Jimmy is keeping up his school studies, Clark listens as Jimmy reads a character study he's written on the ship's first mate, a man by the name of Teak Barnaby. Here's an excerpt from that episode.
Finish your lessons for today?
Yes, sir. I solved those algebra equations you gave me and finished my English lesson.
Good.
I wrote a composition about Teak Barnaby.
Oh, character sketch of the first mate, eh? What did you say about him?
Well, I just put down exactly what I think about him. I said he was a fierce-looking man with a wooden leg and that he looked like he'd make a swell pirate. That he was a swell guy
Easy there, Jimmy. You're overworking that word swell. It's slang, you know, and you mustn't use it too much.
Gee, that's right. I'll watch it, Mr. Kent.
Good.
Interesting to hear Clark telling someone else not to use the word he later becomes famous for saying in the movies. As we know, Clark again uttered the word swell in 2006's Superman Returns as an homage to the scene in Superman the movie.
I'll help with Superman, and you and Clark can work on the blackout together. Is that all right with you, Clark? Swell.
I'm sure the word swell has probably been used elsewhere in Superman's history in other mediums. A quick search through my own files found a reference in the comic book Superman number 76 from May-June 1952 in the story titled The Mightiest Team in the World. During a night of dancing and dining, Lois says, "So you start your vacation cruise on the Verania tomorrow evening. I'll come down and see you off, Clark." "That'll be swell, Lois," says a hopeful Clark. So what's the point of this whole video? There isn't one really. I just found it interesting when I heard the radio series conversation between Clark and Jimmy and thought others might find it, well, kinda swell.
Swell.
For more details on the word swell, visit our website at supermanhomepage.com and search for the word swell. I'm Steve Eunice from supermanhomepage.com.